Great. Welcome, everybody. I'll call the meeting to order and start with a pledge to the flag. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, I'll open the meeting with opportunity for privilege of the floor. And so I have Bruce Murray on the list first.
One second, right?
You're first. Oh, sorry. There's a name stuck up at the top. RC Quick, you're first.
Thank you. Again, I appreciate the opportunity to speak. I'm going to be brief. Last week, we had an information session about zoning. And the chair, Gene McFeeters, early on in the meeting, told one of our residents to piss off. And then another resident that she could care less about where your grandparents came from. And I'm so sick and tired of hearing about grandparents. I'm tired of it. It's clear that Gene McFeeters, the chair of the zoning commission, is feeling the pressure. She's worried about dying before this is said and done. And I would ask that the board consider asking for her resignation, or that Jean herself resigns for her own health and welfare. It's not good. This entire thing is not good for anyone. Thank you.
Thank you, RC. Bruce?
Are we, do you want to correct? I mean, how are we on the basic corrections?
Would you like to offer?
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I think offering us a basic correction, because this has been around and I think it's important to correct it. I have reviewed the tape in anticipation of this precise moment, and the quote was, "Piss on that." The quote was not "piss on them, piss on you." It was certainly not "piss on your grandparents." So I just want to clarify that.
Thank you.
I heard it.
No,
We're not
that's
going back
that's
and
it.
forth.
No, thank you. So Bruce Murray, you're next.
Can you put me on your list?
Video.
So
I'd like to speak.
remind. Bruce?
Okay, I'd like to bring up what you're gonna talk about tonight as far as the extending the moratorium. The moratorium was based on a petition that was nothing but crap. And I listened to the deputy supervisor tell multiple times how great this petition was and how it was 800 signatures, and then it went down to 700 signatures. And then I finally foiled it. And I brought it to the town board, and I showed it to the town board. There was only 238 signatures on that petition, and they were not signatures. It was 100% electronic. The heading of the petition was only on the first page. It was not a proper petition. And I asked the town, I said, don't you feel that since you were toting how great this petition was for so long, and how the best petition that's ever been handed into the town of Caroline, and then when it finally come down to it, it wasn't. There was only 238 signatures from people who lived in the town of Caroline. They weren't even signatures, they were electronic. And also, it was the first petition against the moratorium with 276 signatures with the hyphing on each page and everything else. But yet the town board still never brought it back to the people to tell them the big, huge mistake that they made. And you based this moratorium on that, the extension on that petition. And to me, this moratorium is illegal. And I believe you should bring it to the public with your big mistake. Because there was not that near that signature. Signatures were only 238 and they were not signatures. Then let's get on to the extent of making this law where you get a geographic for people who are appointed to the town. I don't feel that if you're gonna pass a law like this, first off, you better state what officers can reside out of the town. Not all officers appointed. And I believe that they should live in the Tompkins County, not live outside of the county. To me, that's ridiculous. People who are gonna regulate things in this town, in the town of Caroline, in Tompkins County, need to live very close to here, if not in the town of Caroline. Thank you.
Thank you, Bruce. I will offer a clarification on the moratorium and the petition. So petitions are brought by the citizens to bring matters to the attention of the governing board, of the town board. In this case, the petition brought to our attention that it was appropriate while the town board was in, or the town was in the final stages of completion of the comprehensive plan, that it would be prudent to put a freeze on development should any actions be taken as a consequence of the revised comprehensive plan. So that was the basis for enacting a moratorium. Now, the moratorium was not decided upon based on a referendum or a vote from the public. So just that brief clarification.
Why wasn't it
No.
brought to the town, the clarification of the petition that was told so many times to be so great?
So
We're not going back.
I just offered the clarification. So Robert Swansboro.
Good evening. I want to make a couple points. Gene McPeters should step down. You guys should make her step down. It's uncalled for. The whole piss on, no matter how you look at it, piss on this, piss on that, piss on that, it doesn't matter. She needs to step down. Or you guys need to force her to step down. Okay? In 2020, you changed the law so you could hire Brooke Greenhouse as code enforcement officer. Now we're changing it again because we're hiring another code enforcement officer, correct? Don't answer that, because you're not going to. April 18th, 2022, I got an email sent to me from your appointed acting code enforcement officer over Brooklyn Market 10. It's April 18th, 2022. It states that they must produce the documents from the former CEO, Corey Williams, or the highway department indicating that the placement of the tent was compliant with setback requirements of town road. I, Brian Butner, also spoke to the county highway engineer, and he's not familiar with any request to erect a tent in Brookendale. If no permitting documents can be produced, the owner will need to remove the tent. Once again, selective enforcement at its best. Thank you.
Thank you, Rob. I will just clarify that the Brookton's Market owners are working with Mr. Butner to resolve that issue and are nearly complete now. So thank you.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear
John
you.
Morse. Excuse me?
I couldn't hear you.
I said that the owners of Brooklyn Market are working with Mr. Butner to resolve that issue and have about wrapped that up. So That's all.
So just to clarify, on May 30th, he sent this to me again.
Okay.
So.
That's fine. So, go ahead, John.
I don't have much tonight. I just want to agree that I think she's certainly got a right to be upset, but that was too much for someone representing in a public forum like that. And nobody personally attacked her and she went overboard. So this should be addressed. The moratorium, this is getting ridiculous. It's been forever. That needs to end. And, you know, this town is fractured, and it's because of what's going on here. The people are hating each other. This isn't good. You gotta stop. It's moratorium is a temporary thing, and you're going on years. It needs to stop. And this law, you know, changing the law every time something has to happen, we change the law that you can work from home. You've got the, you know, you're like you said with Brook Greenhouse one way, and now we're going another way. And especially now with the town fractured like it is, keep stuff in house. You know, that's just my opinion. That's all I've got tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, John. All right. Did you want to speak?
I do.
Okay, go ahead. Can you remind me your name, please?
My name's Julie Savell.
Okay, thank you.
What I would like to say is, I listened to the video of Jean McFeeters and what she had to say. And it was absolute disrespect. The man was talking about the families and the generations that have lived in Slaterville. And her comment at the heels of that, saying, I don't care, piss on it. Whether she's saying piss on him, piss on them, or piss on the whole subject matter, it doesn't matter. It's absolutely, to its core, disrespectful to the heritage of Slaterville. And this is what makes Caroline what it is. It's part of the character that theoretically is purported to be important to the town board. It's supposed to be something we're trying to preserve, and yet she has absolutely zero respect for it, and clearly zero respect for the people who live here. And she should resign. She has lost our confidence. The other thing that I would like to say in regard to the changing of laws, which are put in place for the benefit of the town of Caroline and put in place by the government, that it is really not okay to be changing the laws every time it suits your fancy. Oh, we want this, oh, we want that. The laws are there for a reason. We want people in the town of Caroline taking care of the town of Caroline. And if you want to change the law so that you can bring in somebody that suits your fancy and will do things the way you want them to, because you're afraid that if you pick somebody from the town of Caroline, they may or may not do the zoning the way you want them to. That's just not okay. We need people in Caroline to take care of Caroline. And if nobody in Caroline is willing to do it, then you can talk about, let's look somewhere else. But you need to give Caroline a chance to put up people first. That would be my opinion.
Thank you, Julie. Anyone else to speak? Peter Hoyt?
I almost feel sorry for
Could
you
you-
guys. Oh, yeah, me too. Fortunately, I don't have to speak to the Mr. TV land tonight because we have a full complement. I almost feel sorry for you guys tonight. That's a big thing for me to say. I really think the board's kind of between a rock and a hard place on this moratorium thing coming up. I mean, if you don't renew it, then raises the question of what the hell did we put up with this for 2 years anyway? We're gonna be right back where we were in April of 2020. And then if you do renew it, then I think the walls are gonna start to close in on you. I mean, the case law on this is, well, the statute is not precise at all on how many times the moratorium may persist, maybe renewed or be enacted for in the first place. But case law seems to favor shorter rather than longer. And I think you guys are starting to step into some risky territory if you go for yet another extension, which will carry it most likely into its 4th year. So you're in a tough spot. And kind of glad I ain't on the town board. Right.
Thanks, Pete.
Jess. You just let Hannah. I did. Oh, yeah.
It's just Jordan.
Oh, okay.
Great. And Chad, did you want to speak?
Yeah, just off my head again, I don't ever have anything, but just want to thank everybody for coming here. It means something to me, and everybody that's here is taking a lot of time out of their days and whatnot to come here. Please consider why we're here. We're opposed to this, and we're not wasting our time. We're trying to do what we believe is right. You guys may be as well, but please consider what we're doing and why we're doing that. I mean, this is an awesome town. Let's keep it that way. And if this was voted down, the town's not going to change a whole lot from what it is now. And we all came here for what the town is now. It's a great town. That's why we're here. That's why we're all here. So if this was voted down, it's going to be the same. There's not a lot changing. I think I see 2 new houses going up in town. It's not going crazy. It's a great town. Let's keep it that way. This is going to change a lot, maybe in short steps, but every short step's going to be more and more as the zoning goes. You know what I mean? If it goes through, it's going to change it a lot. We don't need change. We don't need this change. Just consider us, you know, please, everyone.
Thank you, Chad.
Thank you.
And I guess I just will say, you know, I hear you. I hear the fear of change. I think it's a difference of, as I've said before, that, you know, I think we all love Caroline for what it is. And so for me, this is a proactive measure to protect what we love. And I think it's a prudent measure that we should follow through and seriously consider. So that's, you know, I've stated that before. And I think we can, the whole idea of the zoning commission working in a way that is sensitive to feedback from the community is intended to create a regulation that is appropriate for the town. So
It's an overkill. It's a very much an overkill. It's micromanaging us.
right, okay,
It is.
all right, great. Anyone else wish to speak? Great, thank you so much for coming and talking. I will now open the meeting, the agenda meeting. And as you're all aware and have noticed, I'm now introducing a local law to extend the geographic area for eligibility as Town of Caroline appointed public officers. And the rationale for that is given within the text of the law. The Town of Caroline's experience with such local law, observations of what works well in other communities, and the limited pool of eligible and qualified candidates mandates this change, as history has shown that the best candidates and sometimes the only eligible and qualified candidates are from nearby areas and not necessarily residents of the Town of Caroline or even of Tompkins County. Requiring residency for appointed public officers in Tompkins County or adjoining counties is consistent with the Tompkins County's residency requirement. So, and as somebody noted in the privilege of the floor statements, we did amend the residency law previously, and we we struggled with how big to make it. I think people remember that discussion, and we seriously considered the county, adjoining counties as we're proposing now. So I think it makes sense. It's in this day and age, it's an easy commute from any of those areas. And I think it makes sense to broaden the pool of potential applicants to that geographic area. So I'm introducing that proposed local law at this meeting, and later on we'll be setting a public hearing for considering that. So. Any board comments?
Is there a second?
This is an introduction, so it's not a resolution. It's not put forward. It'll be put forward next week to be voted on, and it will be discussed at the public hearing. So,
you're gonna vote
I
on
think
it
that,
and then have a
I
hearing?
think,
excuse me.
You're gonna vote on it and then have a hearing?
No, the hearing comes first. Go ahead, Kate.
I was just gonna say, I think this makes sense in that, it was so hard to get a lot of candidates for the code officer. When somebody said that, we should get them from town. And we didn't have many people apply for it. And it's not just the town of Caroline, it's other towns and other municipalities around here had a hard time getting codes officers that were qualified. And that's why I support this, so that we can get qualified candidates.
Great.
Yeah, I was just gonna add as well that this is consistent with Tompkins County policy, and I think it makes a lot of sense for us to remain consistent with that policy. I think it was probably, we did an oversight the last time we considered this and not bringing it into line with Tompkins County policy, so I support us putting this forward.
Great. Any other comments? Okay.
No, I would like, I guess I just, as a response to one of the comments is that the code officer, we don't tell the code officer what to do. I mean, that's not something that we do. The code officer follows the state law, and that's not something that the town, other than hiring, we're not involved in.
Great. Okay, so sorry.
We're not discussing that.
Kate, I really
We're
can't
not
hear you.
discussing that.
No. So I'm not opening it
I'll
up.
try to talk louder next time.
So
Okay, thanks.
What was the residency of the previous code officers?
Mr. Williams?
Well, if we go back 3. Mr. Williams
Homer.
was a town of Caroline resident.
Homer. Kevin? McMahon?
Yeah.
I have no idea.
He was Homer.
This is a good reminder that we have a long tenure code officer
Well, I
was
just.
not from this town.
Portland County, yep.
And if we don't hire someone, the state will send someone down from Syracuse.
That's if you.
So that's-
So this law is just about the code officer or other positions.
No,
There's
this
other
applies to
So, okay.
any appointed town of Caroline public.
So like.
Wait, we're not talking back and forth. The law is written, it was online, take a look at it. We're not having conversations back and forth. This is supposed to be a meeting for the town board to discuss this.
Okay, so, but I think that's a good point that,
Excuse me, it'd probably behoove to have public comment after you guys have discussed your future plans so that residents can
Okay.
chime in.
I will
Before the next
clarify
hearing.
on that. So
So that you
there
guys
will
can
be a
vote on
public
that.
hearing
Yes.
set, and that's the time that will be an opportunity for the public to weigh in on where we're at with the proposal. That's the purpose of the public hearing.
Didn't you say you were voting next week?
So I will be setting the public hearing later in the meeting, and I'm proposing to set it at the beginning of next week's meeting. Business meeting on the 13th of July. So Okay, so,
So how did it happen? We had Kevin Zan.
we were unaware of this. We just,
Yeah.
Kevin McMahon was from West
Lansing before he moved to Homer.
Where-
He did? Okay.
Cal,
He originally
I'm
lived in
trying not to
Lansing.
have, we can't have a conversation with 30 people.
okay. So, yeah,
Okay.
it's a learning curve.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, okay. And so now I would like to introduce local law modifying and extending the existing moratorium upon land use development reviews and approvals and commercial, retail, business, and industrial land development actions. So that, as you're aware, is another, the current moratorium expires on August 1st. The purpose of the moratorium, land use moratorium, has been to freeze development actions while the town board is, or while the town is developing zoning or other land use regulations. And so I'm introducing this local law to provide additional time for that work to be completed under this scenario. And we have, I will point out a couple of things. So the moratorium does not apply to farm businesses, to home businesses. And there's a waiver provision in the law that if an applicant has a hardship, they can apply to the town board for an exemption from the moratorium. We did do that for one development project a couple of years ago, so.
So, and this is, so I was, I wasn't here when the other ones got passed. This is pretty much, it's the same, just a continuation. Is that correct?
It's a continuation, but we've clarified that this would apply only to development projects that would trigger site plan and or subdivision
I saw
review.
that wasn't in the one before?
Well, there was a paragraph in the other one that said that, I think 4B or something that specified that no new commercial projects shall be cited, so.
For how long?
So this,
That we're not discussing.
we're proposing, this is, it's in the local law till August 1 of 23, so it's a year extension.
So
12 months, yeah.
for this sentence here, the town opts not to proceed with zoning, then to consider architectural and size form-based controls to supplement existing site planning and subdivision requirements along. Does it have to be in that order? Does it have to be in that order? I mean, I don't know if it matters. I'm just
No,
reading through this, trying to understand it.
I
I don't know if it matters, but it was
Kate,
just a way a
it's in-
sentence is structured
So,
on section 2 of authority and intent.
I know that, I mean, my feeling would be to say that would be to strike that clause to say, it is the intent of the town to consider its first zoning law and consider architectural and size form-based
Okay.
controls to supplement existing site planning and subdivision requirements and local laws.
I think that's good, because then it's not waiting for the town to act.
Right.
Okay,
Yes,
good.
and I don't think that's quite correct, so
All right.
thank you. I think that's good. Do you see where that is, Jesse?
Yeah.
Okay, great.
That's a good point. I could just say that I'm for putting this forward next week. I think that in general, we need to continue to be consistent in terms of the suspension of development while the zoning commission hopefully finishes its work in the very, very near term. This will then go to the town board, and we'll have an opportunity, I hope to act upon it expeditiously. My own expectation is that we would need anywhere near a year to finish the final stages of this process, which are well ongoing. I suspect that my point of view is shared by the board, that we would like to bring the moratorium to a close, which we're able to do upon completion of this work as soon as possible. I'll also note that in the time that we've had the moratorium, we've had one appeal for a commercial solar field based on hardship. We considered that appeal, we approved the appeal. That's the only appeal that we have received in all of this time. And I think that our provisions allow that flexibility within the law, so I'm satisfied with it.
You did shut down the Dollar General. Let's not forget that.
Taking turn, I mean, I have a lot to say about this, but if you want me to go through my comments.
Yeah, I think it would be appropriate for you to speak now.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I will just go through the comments that I have. I have already reiterated in multiple emails to the board, and I will share publicly, because those emails are not public, that I am pretty concerned about restrictions for town residents, and I do not support additional restrictions for town residents. I wish, and I asked, and I would hope that there would have been some creative way to like distinguish between outside business interests or national corporations or, et cetera, and like local taxpayers, landowners, community members. And if that was possible, then I would maybe entertain the possibility of some sort of creative extension, but that is not, as I understand it now, that's not possible. So I don't, we haven't really been able to get as creative as I would have liked.
That's my understanding.
And yeah, so just to say that I'm not, I have considered this very, seriously. So I'll just go through the law with my notes. Throughout the law, there's a lot of comment about several land use regulations in terms of purpose and goals. Zoning, there's multiple locations where this is noted, but zoning is just one of many tools that are stated here. It's not just zoning. In section B, there are no pages on here, but the town desires to consider any recommended land use regulations that guide future residential and commercial land use developments. I support that, but that's any land use regulations that guide future residential and commercial land use, not just zoning. In paragraph D, it states having a moratorium in place to maintain the status quo while considering zoning, or if rejected, site planning and subdivision updates. And so to Kate's previous point, that's not the only location like where you guys changed the sentence, which I support. Throughout this, it's that site plan is only if zoning is rejected, which to me leaves all these other land use regulations as like a lesser tool.
So we could take
And
that
to
out.
me, it's not a lesser tool.
Yeah, so, and I had edited that in other places, and so I may have missed some spots, but yeah.
In E, states that, and this is one of my biggest concerns, to be honest, of the whole thing, if a comprehensive zoning plan is selected as the most appropriate way to achieve the goals and implement the vision, blah, 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 this moratorium may need to be extended to fulfill the need for full public participation. So the stated date in here is August 1, 2023, but within the law, it states that it may need to be extended, and I am not in support of that language. I will not support that.
So- What? Hold on a second. So,
It's my turn.
oh, I didn't know we were
I'm
taking
gonna go through
turns.
everything
I'm
that I-
sorry about that. I thought it
Okay.
was a discussion.
So the general goals, again, quoting from the comprehensive plan, which is near and dear to my heart because I was on the planning board when the comprehensive plan was adopted. So when I see that the comprehensive plan is quoted, I want to make sure that I know what it's quoting. Exploring and enacting land use planning regulations such as zoning, comma, design guidelines, comma, and formula business restrictions that do all these good things. I support that. I was one of the authors of that. But zoning is only one of these regulations. And again, I just reiterate, like, this is not just about zoning. Of particular importance to me is this comment, the paragraph about the changing agricultural landscape. And I wrote this, so I'm gonna read it. I thought it was interesting that it was in this law.
Where is it? Can you tell me?
There are no page numbers, unfortunately, so.
Can you tell me what section it is?
It is in findings and support, section 4. B
B4? Okay,
4.
got it.
You got it.
Yep.
A variety of agricultural protection tools have been identified which may be implemented as desired to preserve rural character. These include agricultural districts. We're not pursuing that. Agricultural assessment. We are not pursuing that. Agricultural zoning. We are not pursuing that. Right to farm laws. We are working on, but that is not a town board initiative. Infrastructure planning, subdivision regulations, purchase of development rights, transfer of development rights, and land banking. So I take this very personally because we worked really hard on this to put forth a lot of different tools that would help ag. And it's in this law,
Right.
which is awesome, but these are none of the tools that are being pursued. Zoning has been a choice that's been pursued. So I just want to make that point. I'm not trying to be difficult. I just want to like emphasize because I've tried to emphasize it privately and I want to do it publicly. The other pieces are just consistent with what you guys have already looked at with the if zoning is adopted or if it's not, that it's like a tiered system of what will then happen. And we're running out of time regardless. So if we don't work on things other than zoning concurrently, I don't know where we're gonna be left. And I guess I'm just expressing that as a concern. And my final comment, and then I will stop, and I apologize for interrupting. I just wanted to get through my thoughts because I've been thinking a lot about it, is that the waiver requires demonstration of people suffering extraordinary hardship, which is totally subjective. And I don't know how we would ever assess that. Additionally, part of extraordinary hardship designation says the failure to grant a waiver, we have to demonstrate that the failure to grant a waiver will cause the petitioner extraordinary hardship and that such hardship is substantially greater than any harm to the general public and greater than the potential harm to the public that could result from the granting of the waiver. And that, like, there's just no way that this would be able to be demonstrated in my view. And so I worry a lot about the waiver. So if I were to support this at all, which currently I do not, number one would be that the waiver process cannot be this onerous because no one is going to do it. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you.
I will just offer. These are certainly things we could follow up on. My understanding of the waiver process is that the stipulations in there are prescribed by state law. That's my understanding. We did, as a town board, we did negotiate the provisions of, with this exact language of the waiver provision in evaluating the Sunex proposal. on 76 Road. And yes, it's a judgment call. You're saying, you know, you have to make a judgment about if we let this project go forward, you know, what's the potential harm to the town? What's the potential harm to the applicant? Is this a self-created situation for the applicant? And so, yeah, there are judgments that you have to make. They're not, you know, we didn't make a graph to do it. We had to use our judgment to do it. So, but I felt like I was very comfortable with that decision. I felt like it was the right decision. And I think I could do that again. I think, yeah, so yeah, so I think these are good comments. My own view is that, and my understanding from listening to the zoning commission's work and listening to the planner, is that a lot of these things are integrated. They go hand in hand with zoning. And a lot of these of the agricultural provisions. And my understanding is that assessing those was like kind of what you guys are doing on the ag committee, which I appreciate very much. So yeah, those are my thoughts. And so I appreciate your thorough review.
So if you go back to,
Cal hasn't gone yet.
I'm sorry, I wanted to comment on something.
Did you want to go, Cal?
I didn't know we were taking turns. I thought we could discuss.
I have read my Robert's rules.
Yeah,
So
that's
we each
right.
get 10 minutes.
Everybody gets a turn, that's
All
right.
right, go ahead. I know, I'll wait. I wrote my notes down so I can ask you in a minute.
I don't know that my comments will be quite as thoughtful as the thorough critique as yours, Catherine. I feel that moratorium should be rare and specific. And I feel this has just kind of been a broad, commercial development. I didn't like it from the beginning, and I haven't changed my opinion on that. And I wouldn't support this. I think we should be working on subdivision and site plan review stuff, and I think we should shelve the zoning commission for a couple of years.
Thanks, Cal. I knew some of that.
But, it's just, I don't know, if there was something specific, and I think there's not necessarily, there's this link between zoning and planning. We need planning. We need planning bad. Different day.
You mean the town of Caroline needs planning?
Otherwise, it will be planned. But
I agree. Thank you.
But I think there's this false equivalency that zoning is planning and planning is zoning. I disagree with that. And I've read way more stuff on zoning than I want to have read. And maybe I take to the, people, books that tell me webinars that what I want to hear, but I think it's my feeling that there's a place for a certain amount of zoning, but this whole townwide thing and the moratoriums and just the way the road we're on, I'm scared.
Okay. You said there's a place for zoning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you. Other thoughts?
Okay, that question. So I had a question about what you were objecting to on E section 3. Comprehensive zoning plan is selected as the most appropriate way to achieve the goals of This moratorium may need to be extended for the need for full public participation and comprehensive environmental review. So there has to be a seeker done, is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. About how long does that take? Or does it depend?
A little while.
I've heard 3 to 4 months.
3 to 4 months? Okay. That's what I was wondering. And I can't, there wouldn't be any other comprehensive environmental reviews that I know of other than a seeker? Is that correct?
Don't think so. Well, we probably share it with Ag and Markets also, which would happen at the same time. And I believe, and then we share it with the county.
Yeah, 239.
And that would happen, my understanding is that happens at the same time. But I'm not positive about that. So from what I understand, those are the outside town consultations that are required by state law. I don't think Ag and Markets might be required, but want to do it anyway. And I believe that even our planner has recommended doing that from the very beginning.
So that's why that's in here.
Should be, yeah.
Okay. And
And the reason that that's done is in case there's anything that has been written in our proposed law that wouldn't be in line with current state law could have been revised, et cetera, et cetera. The reason it goes to the county is because the county oversees all planning across the county, so it wants to make sure that there's nothing in our law that would then contradict county policy or law. So these are pretty standard review procedures. And I think we even do the same thing for site plan law, but I can't remember.
Yep.
okay. Okay, so we go to that section 4. I'm sorry, 4 under. Should print some of these out next time for people to read.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did print some.
Oh, did you read over
Yeah,
over there?
there's some
Okay.
There are some. Yep.
So the changing agricultural landscape and strategies with the tools, agricultural protection tools. So you've been working on some of these, right, in your ag committee, is that correct?
Well, I was gonna wait to comment on this for the ag committee update, but broadly, the answer is we're trying.
Mhm.
However, how do I phrase this? We're trying, and while we're trying, we're running up against some roadblocks that are unfortunately related to zoning. I'll be really honest. And so the timing of everything is just like, it is what it is. The ag committee work started when it started.
Okay.
Very glad that it has done so, and I'm grateful to everyone who's doing that work. But we're a little like out of step with comprehensive zoning because of the timing. Cal, jump in anytime. I mean, because and again, I'll speak to this more with the ag committee update, but we're trying to. I'm just gonna say yes, I don't know, interrupt your thought, but yes, we're trying.
Okay.
But I would just say, for the purposes of this law, like discussing all of those tools is like a separate conversation that I would love to have for days on end, because I
Okay.
love talking about ag policy. However, for the purpose of this law, I would honestly just strike it. Like, there's no reason for that paragraph to be in this law as justification of this law. I resent very much, because it's not saying anything about zoning. It's saying, look, all these other things that are not zoning are things we could do, but like, we're not doing any of them.
So you just said you were.
No, the very baby bird of an ag committee is doing our very best and like trying to get stuff moving as best we can, but like, we can't do any of these things on our own. For one, we can't do any of them if town zoning is the umbrella over all of them. And we're doing a lot of things in the town, like good, very well-intended things in the town, but it's like all happening at the same time. So I guess that's my best answer to like these ag things. Like each one of these is you see how long it's taking to deal with zoning, like that's one tool. So even if you look at like transfer of development rights, purchase of development rights, real estate transfer tax, ag assessment, ag districts, all of these things, like we have been told very specifically in writing by Nan that what we are doing in this town currently is not agricultural zoning. Right? And that's fine.
actually in the comprehensive
It is-
plan
No.
on page 38
No,
is
right.
something we should be looking at, and that was not done in this process of zoning. And
So,
like,
excuse me,
using
okay,
the
so that's enough.
plan as
So,
justification.
So that's why
The-
there's upset about this for this reason.
But I think my understanding was agricultural zoning is, I think my understanding in that email was agricultural zoning is where you zone for very large parcels. I think that was her meaning, that, and
It's
so,
one, there's a bunch of different,
And my understanding is she is explaining that it's much more stringent than anything that was currently being considered by the zoning commission. That's just how I read that email. I understand your point,
yeah,
but she was asked to assess the role of agricultural zoning in the draft that they're working on. And her reply is, our agricultural zoning is not being recommended here. It's more stringent
yeah,
than
Targeted.
yeah.
this. And so
Targeted.
they're two different things.
It's very targeted. It's very targeted. And so like, again, I don't want to get too far. Like, there's a whole other
So
conversation,
you're
not
not-
about this law. So let's keep it to the
No,
law.
But you're
Yeah,
not
conversation.
asking for agricultural zoning.
We don't even have an opportunity to ask for agricultural zoning because we're too busy doing what it is that we're doing. Like, we will, and we are, and we will continue to work on things that we, the ag committee, and we trying to get feedback from the community who supposedly value ag. We are trying to like learn what would work best. But if we
Okay.
have comprehensive zoning
Yeah,
without targeted agricultural tools, we're not gonna have those tools. That's just, like, again, this is not about the law, so I wanna be really clear, like, I don't wanna take this too far afield, but
Okay,
that's,
so-
what-
I mean, we need to have, this is a good conversation for us to have, but probably.
but not now.
just not
So
now.
I would just say that for just, this paragraph needs to not be in this law, because it's not supporting the law. Like having a moratorium in order to do these things would be, like, is not what we're asking, is not what we're undertaking right now.
is that not, could that not be considered? I mean, by the zoning commission?
We could talk about this another time, because I've sent copious amounts of reading material to the zoning commission,
Which is read material.
which was read, and I appreciate very much that there was actually quite a comprehensive response, like,
Right,
and for anyone who's interested, they can go to the meeting minutes for last meeting where we reviewed that response,
right.
and the response of the ag committee and ag community to that response was not very favorable.
Okay,
So I guess, like,
Well,
I'm
that's-
not defending it, I'm just reporting the news.
Let's just stick to this because that's a whole different.
That's a whole different
Which we
conversation.
need- Which is important to have
Yeah,
and should be had with the zoning commission. as well.
yeah, we would welcome that. We would welcome that.
Sure, the zoning commission would too.
I guess,
100%.
I mean, I'm fine with that edit, but I don't know, I don't know, so,
I mean, unless
I-
everyone at this table understands what all these tools are, it shouldn't be in this law. Right? I mean, like, this is a pretty meaty paragraph of agriculturally targeted tools
mhm.
that are very complicated, just like zoning is complicated, and like, I just don't think that this needs to. Anyway, I've said my
I
piece.
read this as the moratorium is giving a chance for these ideas to be addressed and understood.
I appreciate that. None of these things are gonna happen by August 1 of 2023. I can guarantee you that. right?
It's physically
It is
impossible.
physically impossible. It will not happen. I mean,
No, it's not.
Nor do they require a moratorium.
nor do they require a moratorium. So,
I mean, if we take it out, it seems to me that we're stripping that ambition.
Right, that's kind of a different, like we're taking that vision or that idea.
or leave it in. I mean, I don't care. Leave it in. I'm just sharing my feedback.
Yeah,
I think it's a goal and it's a direction. I think that was more of it, that it's.
Yeah.
But you don't want that as a goal or direction or as a part of the moratorium because you're against the moratorium.
Yeah.
I don't quite understand why you want to take it out.
you feel it's inappropriate.
I just think as a justification, like,
It's just.
it's just interesting reading my own words in a, you know, like in a document, I'll tell you. And I was just like, oh, like, I remember that. Like, I remember this. This was the thing we did. But like, I certainly wasn't anticipating it was going to be used to justify, you know, restricting like the capacity of my neighbor to have a bakery. Like, that's why I don't like this. Because if they disturb more than an acre, they're subject to site plan review, which is the other thing that I have stated previously and respectfully was pretty much ignored. And the trigger for site plan review, like the other thing we could do to make me happy, if this is about my feedback right now, is to eliminate the 1 acre of land disturbance, because that's not very big.
It is if you only have an acre.
Yeah, I mean,
But that's not the, like, my point is like, there are several, as I emailed to the whole board, I have, like, in my brain, I was like, what businesses
I
could
did
possibly
reply,
disturb?
so-
I appreciated that.
okay,
What businesses could possibly disturb more than an acre and like trigger site plan review, right? Like, let's just think about what's realistic. Like,
Right.
I don't know, and I came up with just, there could be 100 more, like a bakery, a dog groomer, a dealers. I mean, I don't know, there are things that I don't think are so like offensive that could easily disturb an
exactly.
acre.
And so, I mean, you know, what I thought about was, how often do we get these? It's super rare. So that's what I replied in my
I
email.
know.
Do we get, and if it did occur and we said, hey, there's a dog groomer that wants to put in a 3/4 acre parking lot,
Right.
that seems like an easy waiver application to me.
And what's their demonstration of like extraordinary hardship for their dog grooming business?
Well, I mean, it would be that, you know, they've invested in that, or
That's their
they've
income,
made a
that's
commitment to
extraordinary.
it.
I mean, that's
hardship.
fair. I
They
just
don't
want
have
to
the
make sure
money
that
coming
the
in.
waiver process
I mean-
truly is like, yes, we
And-
want a dog groomer and they don't have to
We
demonstrate
want people to
hardship.
have small businesses. We want to support local people. We're not like, you know, monsters saying, we don't want you to be able to pay your mortgage.
No,
You know, I mean, that's.
And this doesn't pertain to home businesses.
Right,
That's
it
not a
doesn't
home
really-
business.
Well, it could be.
It could be, but like, let's say a standalone bakery, a bike rental, an ice cream shop. I don't know, like 100 different things that I would like love to see in this town. Like, they're not.
So that's why we're currently engaged in a reflexive process by the zoning commission for many, many months to evaluate where such businesses would best fit in relationship to what we're going to have in the future. So they're not contradictory, they're not mutually exclusive.
No, I hear
And
it.
so this is a pause to allow that process to finish itself, which is very well a long process.
I hear you. I totally respect all the, I mean, it's complicated. It's like tricky. So yeah, I totally get it.
I don't
I've
wanna-
said enough.
I don't want to extend the moratorium either, but I don't see if that we have a choice right now. I think that it's necessary.
I thought we would be done with this by now, frankly.
so I guess as far as the language
Yeah.
for this law, so we have the one edit that's Kate offered to, I totally, you know, I saw another section like that and had edited it, or maybe I got the wrong copy and it came back in. But anyway, I think it's better that way. You know, I guess I guess I see E, the extension language
Yeah.
provision as, you know, I mean, even if that weren't there,
Yeah,
that's something the town board could always do. And we don't want to,
Right.
and I think my own view, I mean, this is, I think a year extension is, you know, I think we should be able to get it done in that time, including board review.
right.
What you said the last time, Mark.
Pardon me?
We're not talking
The last time.
So, anyway, I think it's a responsible timeline. Yeah.
I didn't ask you, did you? And I'm really not trying to get you out, I guess, like, you know.
But, yeah, I mean. So, so what we could, I mean, we could leave it as it is tonight with the one edit clause edited
Yeah, I don't think
out.
we're gonna get anything.
And, I mean, if there are changes in the week leading up to the public hearing, we can make some.
Excuse me.
Point them out at the
We're
public
trying to
hearing
have a
and
conversation.
proceed accordingly. We
It's
might
very
need to
difficult for us
to set a new public
call the
hearing.
general.
I mean, I think we
We
should
could do
do
that.
public hearing next week.
Pardon me?
Are we in all support of moving it for next week or?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, so
Absolutely.
we don't have to spend any more time on it.
Okay, okay. Great, thank you for everybody for your thoughts on that, so. That's great. Move on to offer resolution to establish a public hearing on the local law to extend the geographic area for eligibility of residency of Caroline appointed public officers. Seconded by Cal. And so let's see, and so that's, so that resolution sets the public hearing for next Wednesday, July 13th at 6 p.m. at the town hall in the same way we're doing this meeting, hybrid.
6 p.m.
To hear comments.
Emphasize 6 p.m.
6 p.m. for the residency public hearing. Any further discussion or? Hearing none, call for a vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Great, thank you. And I'll offer a second resolution to set a public hearing for local law modifying and extending the existing moratorium upon land use development reviews and approvals and commercial, retail, business, and industrial land development actions. And that would be for 6:30 p.m. On July 13th here at the town hall by hybrid Zoom. I have a second on that.
I'll second it.
Seconded by Kate, and further discussion. And hearing none, I'll call for a vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Great, thank you. And I will open up the meeting for committee reports.
Do you want to hear about that?
Yeah, ag committee would be a good one.
Let's talk about the ag committee. Okay, so the ag committee is meeting tomorrow at 7 here. As I said, the minutes, which I was very tardy on, so I'm sorry about that, are finally up. And actually, as part of the minutes, I attached the statement from Nan and the zoning commission so that the public can review it, so you can see what we're all talking about. There's nothing that's secret. And what's going on currently is that both Erica Fernay and Andrew Dygert met with Monica Roth to begin the process to investigate the potential of having a farmland protection plan in our town, which is kind of a essential and we hope really useful document to guide planning it's a great example of what we were kind of talking about had we had this farmland protection plan in place already when the zoning commission was formed, we would have all sorts of more targeted and specific, you know, visions and goals and potential tools outlined to say, okay, zoning commission, like this is what we as a community and we as an
And the comprehensive plan too.
and the comprehensive plan. So there's all these things that they're just happening, you know, at different time points, and that's totally fine. We're all human.
Yep.
But so thanks to you guys for starting that, and we're gonna talk about that tomorrow.
Great.
Yeah,
And question, I remember Monica bringing this up before, and
yes.
does the county have one of these plans?
So there's a county, so each town can have, and then Dryden is actually a really good example if you want to look at the town of Dryden plan.
Lansing has one.
And Lansing.
Yeah, most agrarian townships have.
Have one.
And they're vastly different. I mean, it's sort of like, basically, it's sort of like a comprehensive plan, but specifically targeted at ag development or preservation.
Right. So, yeah.
So the county
Yeah.
does have one.
Well,
and
the
then-
county has, I don't think it's called
Oh,
the
it's
same
different.
thing.
Okay.
I'll have to look. I don't want to misspeak. I don't know that it's called the same thing,
It's
but
not.
yeah.
What Monica's working on with the county, yes, I don't think the county itself has a farmland protection plan. It's a municipal thing.
Yeah.
I mean, the city of Ithaca has one, Whiskey Town.
Okay,
Yeah, but when she came to speak with the board in, I think it was like February, she mentioned, this was on, and these slides are also public if anyone wants to see her presentation, a bunch of different tools, and that was just one of them. But it takes time, and this would be like, we're starting the process. I'll tell you all more about it, I'm sure, many, many times. And we're gonna need support from the board, and we're gonna need support probably, you know, financially, and most people hire planning help to do this. It's not something that's, you know.
great.
It's relatively
That's what we're
modest,
trying.
though,
Yeah.
there's grant money available from the
Yes.
state that it is slightly matching, but it's like 30% or something. It ends up costing towns like somewhere in the ballpark of $8,000.
We can swing that, right, Caroline? So Tompkins County has an agriculture and farmland protection plan from 2015. I don't know if there's anything more recent than that, but. that's
Okay,
what-
so I can look that up online. Great.
One of the things too, we might look into more, I took it upon myself, the ag resources map for the zoning is
Mm.
very inaccurate.
Yes, thank
And
you
I
for
talked to-
reminding me.
I talked to FSA Farm Service, the USDA Farm Service Agency. And I also talked to National Resource Conservation Service and kind of put them on, you know, hey, these are, you know,
What's inaccurate?
the ag resources map.
Map.
That the zoning commission has.
Yeah.
Will you send me an email about that, please? so I
Sure.
can send
Yes.
the zoning commission?
And, you know, what I find out, I mean, so the map's very inaccurate.
Huh, okay. How did you notice that?
Just,
40 years of experience.
Yeah, I'm just, I mean, it identified farms that weren't there and stuff like that, or?
yeah, you
Okay.
know, farms that we've worked for, that we don't own, we, you know, our family, that, you know, we've worked the fields, or maybe not me directly, but I know other families have worked this land
Yeah.
for 40, as long as I can remember, and it's worth about 60 years.
There could have been a county, I think that might have been a county map,
Yeah,
county generated.
yeah.
Because they I thought they just did an update on that.
They're NRCS maps,
Yeah.
which are generally pretty inaccurate.
Yeah, so, and they just ought to be accurate.
Sure.
So we're hoping, I mean, the very original, remember like the very original ask of the zoning commission, then the ag committee, we had like one meeting or something at this point, and we said, oh, it's like premature because we don't have enough information to really fulfill the request, but the request from the zoning commission was, can the ag committee like look at all the soil maps and,
Yeah.
right? And that was a totally legitimate, I was super excited about it kind of ask, but we just weren't like ready to do that.
It's a monumental task.
It was a monumental task. So now it's just evolving.
Well, that's good.
Well,
Yeah,
really
it's
great.
awesome.
We have an ag committee and this is why we have it,
Yeah,
to work towards the future, to integrate all of these different tools. It's
Yeah.
fantastic.
so we're, yes, very excited.
Great. Great, is that your report?
That's it.
Thank you.
I promise I will talk about ag anymore.
We want you to talk about it.
That's right. Anybody else?
Just trying to look at the calendar.
Do we have anything on broadband? Anything new? Do we have that map yet? The county or the state?
Yes,
or
so
where the
this-
heck it's coming from?
Lee Hafley, I talked to him and,
Okay.
and he said the state map is inaccurate and overestimates charter build out. And I asked him to provide us a proposal for what Hafley could do
Okay, for the town.
for the town,
Alright.
for getting to 100%, which I don't know. That's a state goal now, but so.
That
he's-
is the state goal?
I think so, yeah,
Okay.
that's what he said. And then TCOG, the Tompkins County Council of Governments is going to meet with, in the last week of July with the engineering firm that's helping Dryden. So we decided to invite them to present to us separate from the TCOG meeting because those are happening every other month. And so we'll probably hear from them. We'll hear from them late July. And then I think we're going to also invite them to the next group committee meeting in August. So the end of August. So that'll be interesting. As you know, Dryden is right now has installed a lot of their municipal broadband, and they've gone outside of the box and are putting in their own system. And so we'll be learning from that. And so we wanted to talk to this engineering firm that has a lot of knowledge about this, and consider, how we move forward from that, because the state, the state's moving forward to attack rural broadband deficiency in New York State. And I guess a hope is that they'll come up with a plan, because the problem is the same in a lot of rural municipalities like Caroline, where you have very low densities, hilliness, and it makes it cost ineffective for ISP providers. So I'm hoping they'll come up with a plan that all municipalities can join in with that'll make it easier. So
Mark, if this drags on, which it probably will, I still think we should seriously considering targeting our ARPA funds for this purpose, if we would end up having to use them before the state has a plan together. So let's say they're not going to be ready within 2 years. And Hafley is able to give us an appropriate estimate that would come close to matching what we have. I'd still really like us to consider using those ARPA funds for that purpose.
yeah, I think there are two possibilities. That's one. And the other one might be, and I'm hoping that'll be an outcome of these upcoming meetings
Yeah.
with Hunt Engineering, that if it makes sense for Caroline to contract with Hunt
Or
for
somebody, yeah,
to develop that we might want to use ARPA funds for that,
right,
and then go from there.
okay, yeah.
I would really like to see something that is a true municipal product, instead of, the way it works now is either with state or federal grant monies, and then sometimes with chip in from local governments. Basically lowering the bar or putting out a carrot for individual service providers who are private, companies to provide municipal broadband for the residents. So
Hit and miss, hit and miss.
It's hit and miss, and then they don't have any competition.
it's hit, yes, and they don't have it. And I was told that,
Yeah.
that we're not looking for competition. And it's like, I'm like, yes, we are looking for competition. So, so anyway, I think, I mean, I'm encouraged that the state has grabbed us by the horns again, and I'm encouraged that about, I mean, it's super interesting what's going on in Dryden, so we'll be following that very closely. And then engaging with the engineering firm to help them, and I think we can make a good choice for Caroline.
Right.
But you're right, it's an urgent need, so it's like, we don't want to hurry up and wait too much longer, so.
In today's email, there was a letter from Cornell Design Connect.
Oh, yeah.
Did everybody read that? Does
Yeah.
anybody know a little more
No, I
about
haven't
it?
seen it yet.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, I just, they've got a deadline for applications for this year at the end of July. Is it something that could benefit us? I mean, immediately what came to my mind was maybe just some design and stuff on the grounds around here with the town hall. Maybe, things inside the courtroom here, just, maybe a little cleanup, fix up, stuff with the history room.
I think it would be worth,
No,
Is that all?
I'd like to get back to her. I mean,
Yeah.
Yeah,
as
great.
the quote unquote facilities
Who
person.
was it? Do you have a name?
Alexis Marquez. Is that how you
She
say it?
didn't give us very much time.
No, she
No,
didn't.
they didn't.
no,
But
Did
I'd
she
like to-
give, and is there any guidelines on like what kind of project she's looking
Well,
for?
a multidisciplinary student-run community design organization.
Mhm.
And foster mutual exchange of expertise and experiential learning
Love
between Cornell students and local communities. Currently, we are seeking project partners, from municipalities and nonprofits who are in need of design and planning services.
I think it'd be worth a conversation to ask what kind of projects they're looking for,
Okay,
because I
does anything?
my
jump-
sense is they want something that's more community-based than just the town hall.
Well, the
But that's-
list, they have the list, they
Okay.
said parks and open space design, community gardens, I'm just reading
Well,
the
that's
ones
right.
that seem to maybe relevant.
Nice.
Community gardens, streetscape and pedestrian oriented design, I don't know about that, but playscapes and educational landscapes. But the parks and open space is very broad, right? And then community gardens.
And
Yeah.
Interiors
maybe ask them to do a design for the
For the
space out there.
space,
Yeah.
right? Like,
Yeah.
I love that.
Or I guess now, coming back to me now,
it's coming back.
interiors for public space.
Okay,
Which to me
Oh,
just
yeah.
came,
that would be this.
so.
Great.
They
if there's
might, yeah.
Anything that just strikes, that there's organization and organization in the history room, there's this presence. We're doing, the court is interested in adding a security system, just how this whole thing.
They
maybe
they could
just-
design the town garages.
You know what? I mean, I wonder.
Well, whatever. Or if I could ask her to, could I ask her
That
Alexis
would be
to
a
come next
challenge.
week? But that,
Yeah.
To join us next week,
yeah. Or,
okay with me, I guess, yeah.
possibilities, or if anybody has any ideas so
Yeah.
that I could.
Well, I think having them, I mean, we've been talking off and on about what to do with
What
the
to do with it.
square, how to design it. This could be perfect, and we've
Yeah.
been talking about how nice it would be to even have a small community garden there potentially. It could be great,
Yeah, we'll do the
Caroline
conclusion.
Corners
Yeah.
Park or something.
yeah.
So the,
That's right.
Oh, right. Right.
so, can I share something about?
Yes,
what I've been doing? So I went to a bunch of webinars, 3 webinars and a couple meetings. So there's a big federal money called Safe Streets for All. And it's supposed to be reaching out to rural and underserved communities. And I've been trying, I got overwhelmed with it, to make a long story short, and I got in touch with the county, with the Fernando D'Aragon, he was the head of the Ithaca Tompkins County Transportation Council, which is the town I just rejoined. And So we're coming together, a number of municipalities were also having problems, so we're gonna come together and apply for the first grant together. The first grant is a planning grant, it's like a lot of these plans, right?
Mhm.
So this would be looking at the town as well as other towns, but, and trying to figure out how to make our roads safer, including, and what's possible legally. So there would be a number of partner municipalities, and then, wait, those are co-applicants, and then our partners would be the county highway department and the state. NISTOC would be on that as well as Cornell University, because they're not a municipality, but they're involved with the city. But it'd be the city of Ithaca would take the lead using the planners there, but they would still include the town. We would need to have a resolution in August, because the deadline, or I guess we could probably do it in September, but it's close. We need a resolution that we want to be part of this. By September 15th is the deadline for this grant. If we get the grant, it's gonna be pretty competitive. Then we would get the plan made, and then we would be up next year for a round of implementations of various traffic calming. One of the webinar people said first responder money was in there, but I can't find it written anywhere. But so I really am excited about it and got my fingers crossed that this all works out.
That's
So,
great.
but it's a lot of money.
Safe streets and roads for all.
Safe streets for all. I keep changing to roads because there aren't any streets.
No, no, you're right. The safe streets and roads
Yep,
for all.
yep.
Grant program.
It's called SSF. Or no, SSFA. You okay?
I will be. Give me a few years.
So anyway, I'm pretty excited about that. And I guess we could do, I was trying to think of the resolution because I'm going to be going away for a couple weeks.
Just draft a resolution. Send it my way.
It's draft resolution. send it
Yeah.
away. Okay. Yeah, because we're having a meeting Monday. And I
Okay.
should have a better idea.
Great.
They were talking about sharing, it's an 80-20 match if we get it. And sharing that 20% throughout the municipalities based on population. So it wouldn't be much. So that was good too. Anyway,
Okay.
okay.
So I'll be interested to hear what kind of safe street
It's possible.
Yeah.
Yeah,
techniques or whatever. are-
yeah, I'm really interested in what would be possible for rural areas.
Yeah.
That's great, you did that. This is a clip, what is it, attend how to, how to apply webinar, is that what you did?
I've done those. Yeah, I did the how to apply webinars. I've done a bunch of the webinars. I've done
Cool.
we're all confused meetings with the county. So,
That's awesome.
So I just passed around a request for creating a part-time position as a technical assistant to the town historian. And just something for you to read, and if we can talk about it next week.
Okay.
I mean, I didn't want to spring it. We got a chance to read it and think it over.
Sure. Planning Commission.
Tim?
They're trying to juggle their various summer dates, so I think the next meeting is still not been totally decided, is that right? So I think it'll be decided within the next couple of days and then. I'll-
Oh, okay. I was wondering about that.
I was wondering about pursuing a little something on the windows, just making sure the windows, storms are all in good repair for the next winter, and the blinds, whatever things, maybe even possibly some energy insulating things. Just a little bit of a maintenance check, just be sure they're all
Okay.
in good shape. I'd like
For Richard.
Where,
Or,
to pursue it with somebody that, has got some qualifications, just look at the windows and hey,
okay.
where are we with the gutters and stuff?
So
Sorry.
the blinds are new. These blinds are pretty new. Chris,
Okay,
We ordered new ones and replaced them within the last year.
really?
Yeah. I thought didn't you help me with that a little bit, or
No, I forgot.
these inner blinds?
Okay,
Okay, so yeah.
okay.
those are-
But I know some of the windows don't up and down good and seal, and just the storm windows are in good shape. Just thinking,
Yeah.
before we know it, it's gonna be November and
No, it's
cold.
not, it's not.
You're gonna be out there caulking it yourself.
And I'd like to try and cut that off in the past, so I just would like permission to, contact somebody, Richard or, a local person just to, windows in good shape.
Yeah, I think Richard could look at them.
Yeah.
I mean, that would be great. Thank for him.
Kate on East Trough and things, Steve Gibeon has taken site elevations and has kind of come up with a plan for what to do just for the landscape, to get the water that falls off the roofs away from the buildings, because right now it's running back to them. He's come up with a plan and he came down with COVID today,
Oh, no.
or tested positive this morning for it. So he said he's isolating for whatever the required time is right now, and he will be back with us when he can no longer isolate. And if we're lucky, maybe we can tell you a little more about it next Wednesday.
That'd be great.
Yeah, that'd be good.
Because again, before we know it, it'll be November.
Great.
It's already July.
Don't say that.
Crazy.
The
Okay,
days are getting shorter already.
happens every year.
I know, and I still don't get used to it.
Great.
How old are you now?
71.
A couple more years will get used to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great, okay.
But
Thank
anyway,
you.
so that's,
Yeah, I'm anxious to. I don't know if this is the right time to do it, but I would like to move forward with considering, energy and insulation upgrades to this building
yep,
to see if we could retire the boiler.
yeah. I mean, one of the concerns, and just a little bit, we've looked, this is just siding on studs, which was the economy way of building in 1860. So we've got to be careful with the insulation materials we select, because at least a little bit of research I've done, we've got to, the exterior is fragile.
Right, so I'm wondering if we don't mess with that, if we could just do like blown cellulose or something like that, or.
It's my understanding we don't do blown cellulose in a building that has old clapboard siding just on studs, right, Bruce?
So we push the siding off.
It's what I have. Why don't we do that? I said
She already did it.
it's already with my house, with the house. Why aren't you supposed to do that?
Too late.
Too late, I know. It's like, it's in there.
Is my understanding is it settles and push the siding off.
Okay, it settles, but the siding's still on, and it was put in the 70s. Just letting you know.
Okay.
Mark, one of the things we should take into consideration is last winter when it was really cold, when you were on vacation,
Right,
this system stopped and we had to use the boiler as a backup. And the plumbers who came.
Yep.
Themselves had our heating system, and they said that at their own home, they determined that when it got below zero for too long, the system was inefficient, so the boiler would kick on. So we still want to keep a backup system in mind for the worst possible scenarios. I mean, it's just something to.
yeah, that's what we
take into
have now.
consideration.
Yeah,
That's-
it just wouldn't be working as much
Right.
if this space. It'd be interesting to have thermal imaging, yep.
We can do that. Wait till it gets cold.
Yeah, or
And the only reason that things didn't happen is because the thermostats ended up not being properly set.
Yep.
Someone
Oh,
apparently.
I can't imagine how that happened.
well, anyway, so.
Good. Okay. All right. Is that all for committee reports?
And we looked into some new pass doors for the Old Town Highway barn We got some prices on them. So
Do what?
some of the past doors at the highway barn, they're all rusted off at the bottom in really bad shape. There's 3 of them. So
Okay.
we've kind of been just doing it.
So what about in terms of those repairs on the highway barn?
We've got to find a couple of.
What is the stage of need? So my understanding is that was that the electrical and the roof were the most important things to address first.
Correct. And we may be looking for another contractor because things are backing up. Okay, you can't get to the job. We got to get somebody else in here and get this done. So, I mean, yeah, because there's the roof, there's the electrical, and then there's the past doors. There's kind of those 3.
Didn't we get a fairly positive assessment on the roof?
We did. It's just, it's got to get done.
What's got to be done?
It's some patching and.
Okay.
And, it hasn't been done. It
Contractor's
hasn't been
not-
done yet. The electrical work hasn't been done. And maybe it's the old squeaky wheel. Calvin is not a good squeaky wheel.
No, that's fine.
And maybe,
But is it a big enough job for,
No,
or are they
it's-
just kind of setting it aside because they got other jobs to finish?
yeah, or just, looking. A lot of contractors are getting caught up on things. So I think I just need to be poke and squeak. Yeah.
Okay.
But I want this, like I say, before we know what it's going to be.
I'm still experiencing that, so
Yeah.
it's hard to get people.
But there are, it's on the radar, it hasn't been forgotten, and it's going to be pursued.
Great. Anything else?
Can't think of it yet.
Oh, good, okay. I'll move on. So,
Is there no insulation on these walls?
no,
Is
it's
it
been,
just plaster and lath?
insulation upgrades have been done previously
Okay,
in these walls, and I believe it was blown cellulose and it has settled.
settle down, yeah. Okay.
So,
The other side is Kate, look,
it was,
let's find out what's really there. Let's peek behind the siding and
Mhm.
let's crawl up in the,
well, we can thermal image when it gets colder and
Yeah.
we can see right
Yeah.
where the line is, so.
Yeah.
See if it's worth doing.
I still have plaster left on that in my house.
Yeah, I do too.
Okay.
Wall board, a little bit of plaster.
Does anybody have comments on the minutes of June 8th for Jesse?
They're going to sign.
All good with those?
Yep.
Great, okay. The minutes of June 8th are approved. Thank you, Jesse. And now I will call for agenda items for next week. As we did, we set the 2 public hearings starting at 6 p.m. The town board meeting will start at 7 p.m. And one thought I had, and based on, and I think it fits well with today's discussion, I was wondering if we might want to invite Nan to come talk with us. If people would be good with that, and she said she is available that day.
Is there a particular
Which day? sorry?
goal for that visit?
I was just thinking that it would be an opportunity for us to ask any general questions we had about things. Or do you have
Well,
suggestions?
she's got to drive 6 hours.
No, she would be by Zoom.
Oh, okay, I thought you meant in person, sorry.
So I'm sorry, when would this be?
what time? I mean,
It's gonna be a long meeting.
just
Oh,
thinking
next week.
about.
Excuse me, I'm going outside.
Yeah, and have as much as you want, but, I would very much like to have Nan involved, like as much as we possibly can. Next week is gonna be a big meeting. I don't know. I worry about it being too much.
Okay.
I want her to
That's an interesting thought. Okay.
be preserved and, I just.
In a way, I'd rather preserve Nan's time for the zoning commission to keep that moving and then call
Okay.
upon her when we actually maybe have more of a need.
Well, I guess
Given the weight of it.
I would say based on that feedback, I mean, I appreciate that. So let's hold off for next week.
And I could be wrong, it's a big meeting next week.
No, I think you're right. I think the meeting's too packed.
It's gonna be a long night.
Really?
Well,
Yeah, could be, sure.
starts at 6.
2 public hearings on
Two
some
public
pretty,
hearings.
But those start at 6, right?
Yeah, that's true.
So, I mean, yeah, they might go long. It could be. So then, I agree. Let's,
we're zooming at 9.
Yeah. so, okay.
I just, people are gonna be very energized probably, and I just want this to be productive and
Yeah.
have
Yeah.
a little.
No, that's a good thought. So we could consider it another time.
Yeah.
Or we have a separate, I mean, obviously board
Or we
meetings
can have
have to be
separate
open
meetings.
to the public, and that's totally fine, but like, might even suggest that we have a separate meeting with her,
Yeah, that'd be great.
and then,
I like that idea a lot. So, and then it could be, well, to be scheduled at everyone's convenience,
right,
whatever that would be. Could be a work day meeting.
right,
Okay,
I don't know.
good. Okay, great, thank you. And then the other thing is, I believe that Bob is gonna put forward a resolution to put an order.
Have we got a,
Snowplow, what's that?
have we got a resolution from him?
No, but I'll get it from him to put on the agenda. So we got a description that he planned to do it, but not a resolution.
And is there anything else that's coming in? I mean, I sent a message about it, but I know there's that one truck. But
Oh,
how does it, like, the general plan that we had that pretty, comprehensive presentation about, like, where does this all fit? Because
I think that's a great question. And yeah.
It's not clear.
I don't know,
I
maybe
think-
it's like where that all.
Yeah, I wanted to go over the
No.
data. he
You know
presented.
more than.
Well. Right now it's just getting, this old equipment moved on and getting to the plan, and it's a huge step,
I mean, I think,
so.
yeah, so, I mean, my assumption was that the next priority is this truck.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
But,
then we've got 4 brand new trucks, and then we're pretty good.
and then, but kind of to Catherine's question, I think, is if we're gonna rotate them,
And then we'll be soon starting rotating.
how does it fit into that rotation schedule? And when do we expect it? And how does that work? So,
That wasn't
Like it-
in the presentation. The 7-year rotation plan.
the presentation Todd gave,
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there was a chart that showed, okay, this will be, this truck is scheduled to be rotated here and that one,
Yeah.
there was a progression.
We just need to look at it and understand it better. that's all.
Yeah.
I mean, do we need a has that plan that was presented been accepted by the board? Or does
No.
it need to be accepted by the board?
no,
No,
I don't think so.
it's just like, this is the
It's
plan.
information. For the board.
Here's a,
I mean, basically what we have to do this time is decide how we're gonna pay for this truck,
Okay,
from my point of view, and then more deliberately then consider
Yeah.
the entire future
yeah,
payment plan.
okay,
I think we just need to, we'll need a resolution, authorizing the purchase, the ordering of this truck, which he can't say when it will arrive based on the backlog now. But I think we need to consider, does this make sense? And it
If it's gonna take 2 years
seems like
for
it
this
will.
truck, certainly we do wanna get
right.
in on ordering.
We were going to go look at other town barns. And you guys didn't go without me, did you?
no,
We should do that.
Yeah, we
We need
should,
to do that.
Do that soon.
Yep.
okay,
the suggestion has been the town of Wego's barn on Route 434, the other side of Wego.
Okay.
It's about a half-hour drive from here. I mean, it's way more than it's a nice new facility. Here's what can be done.
Are they a similar town in size and roads?
No,
and
much
stuff?
larger,
Sorry,
much larger.
it's much larger, yeah. Is there a town nearby that has, similar
There's a suggestion.
road needs?
Town of Benfield put up in the barn a couple years ago, and they're probably smaller than our town, so it's right on the other side.
Yeah.
Okay,
That's a
Thanks,
great comp.
thanks, Chad. Yeah.
Good reference.
get that down.
It's a lot easier. And maybe we can't do all 5 of us at once, but we can do 3 to 2.
Yeah, we just split it up, sure.
Yeah, I'm gonna be out of town from the 16th through the 1st. But so go without me, but I would like to go see some of these and have some idea of what our goal is and what Bobby's goal is, so.
Let's try to make it work. There are more efforts to make it work.
Great.
Yeah.
What am I forgetting for next week? So I've got. Let's see, so we're gonna have to do a Design Connect
Do we have to do a
invitation. Is that right, Cal? Design Connect invitation
Right.
to speak to us.
Yeah.
What about code officer? Do we have to do a resolution?
Oh, the
for
code officer, yeah.
Yeah.
So we do that after the
Yeah.
other, the law gets passed,
Yeah.
then we.
Yeah.
the
We'll
code
do that.
officer resolution.
In executive session, that'll be a personnel
Okay,
matter. So
after,
put that
at
on
the
the
end, I
agenda.
guess, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Anything else?
Anything else?
Can't think of anything. Anything else?
Kate and Tim are doing vouchers.
Oh, yeah.
Sounds right.
Okay.
Sure,
Is that right?
That sounds
yeah,
right.
it's been a while.
They're up for that.
Move to adjourn. Move to adjourn.
Other thoughts? Move to adjourn by Tim. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by
By
Catherine.
everyone.
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Third, fourth, fifth.
Opposed? Thank you. Meeting is adjourned at approximately 8:45. Still see daylight. 8:40.
Miracles do happen.
It's actually like that. That was amazing. Truly amazing.
Kate, did we appoint you to want to either the rec partnership or the joint youth commission? Joint youth commission? Okay. I think,
But they've been meeting, and I remember I missed the meeting because I moved it.
okay.
So, yeah, but I need to.
Karen Scott was asking me about it, I think, so
Okay.
I'll reply. Okay, great.
We have a bunch of dates for that tomorrow.
Oh, of course, I've got it lessons in the next 7 days. I've got.
You already know her, right?
I'm supposed to be able to gallop
Yeah.
under a controlled gallop,
You're gonna make
which
it.
they usually just hold on.
I just got one of the damn summer colds.